Hello everybody, Flik here. It's time for another Warhammer 40k 8th edition battle report. 1500 points of the Ultramarines going up today against the Tau. We'll go over the lists in a second. Same board setup as we had last time. The mission's already been decided, but let's move on, get started nice and quick, and go over the lists. So here is the Ultramarine list, and this time I'm not going to get it wrong by calling it a battalion. This is a spearhead detachment with a super heavy auxiliary in the form of Roboty Guilliman, who is going to be the warlord. He has a set warlord trait that provides 3 extra command points if your army is battle forged. The spearhead itself is led by a librarian in Phobos armor. He has the Scryer's Gaze and Mind Raid powers. He also has a squad of eliminators in the Phobos armor working together. This is the same list as last time. If you didn't see last time, I had a very strong first showing. Going to get another run tonight. It's not, I say tonight even though it's dark outside, but it's not night. It's just Scottish weather. Anyway, the rest of the spearhead: 2 5-man intercessor squads, 5-man Hellblaster with the heavy variant of their weapon, the Daka Centurions, so heavy bolters and hurricane bolters. They're just going to be bodyguarding Guilliman, taking advantage of his bubble buffs. And vehicles: Redemptor Dreadnought, kitted as you see him, Plasma Incinerator, Underslung, Gatling Cannon, Icarus Cannon, and then the Storm Talon with the assault cannons on the bottom there, and Missile Launcher. I think that covers everything. Not very many models to show for 1500 points, but obviously very, very powerful as we saw last time, thanks to Guilliman's terribly cheesy buffs. We'll see how they do against the following Tau list. So here's what the Tau list is looking like. 1500 points. It's a Vanguard detachment being led by an Ethereal. He is the warlord. He has the Through Unity Devastation, I think, for his warlord trait. Apologies for it not being painted yet, but the other HQ is a Cold Star commander with the cheese setup that we've heard so, or I've heard so much about. I haven't actually seen it being used, but it's 4 fusion blasters and fantastic movement, so I can kind of just get in there, hit stuff, and then pull out. And in the spearhead itself, Vanguard, I mean, every time, we have 2 7-man fire warrior squads, each with one of the deployable support turrets with smart missile systems. We've got a little squad of stealth suits over there. We've got a big cluster of drones here. This is 6 gun drones and 2 shield drones, 5-man Pathfinder, 6 sniper drones. The theme this time was quite a few drones, in case that isn't obvious. Got one of the marksmen for an elite. Then at the back here, Hammerhead with the railgun, smart missile systems underslung. 2 Riptides with shielded missile drones, 1 each. I know those are just missile drones, but they're painted and the shielded ones weren't, because back in 7th edition nobody used them because of how morale was calculated. The 2 Riptides are equipped as seen, so both have the fusion, not the fusion blaster, whatever it's called, the big cannon. This one has 2 fusion blasters, this one has 2 smart missile systems. They both have target lock and advanced targeting system for their subsystems. Oh, and the Cold Star commander, because this is a Farsight Enclave, has the Fusion Blades relic. So 2 of the Fusion Blasters are replaced by blades that give him 2 very powerful close combat attacks. So I think that about covers everything. Let's go over the mission. So we're going to be doing secure and control. That's 1 objective marker each placed in the deployment zone of your own army, as long as it's not 6 inches away from the edge of the table, and you've just got to hold it. At the end of the game, you have 3 victory points if you control an objective marker. Each one is worth the same. And then the usual side category: Slay the Warlord, First Blood, Linebreaker. We also got deployment. We got the really annoying one, Search and Destroy. So it's kind of like a segmented table, but there's also a 9-inch bubble in the middle. So if nothing else, at least the Ultramarines can start very close to the Tau's defensive line. We'll be back with the armies deployed. So here's how deployment is looking just before we start the game. Technically for the mission it's supposed to be the other 2 board edges that you have to use, but we used those last time for the special mission we made up, so just for variety's sake we're using the opposite corners on each side. But we've got the Ultramarines set up over here. This is where they have placed their objective, being guarded by one of the intercessor squads. They obviously set up first because there's so few units and nothing is off the board, so they will be going first if the Tau don't steal initiative. But let's quickly head over here and see their deployment as well. The stealth suits infiltrated ever so slightly in front of where the deployment zone ended. Got the big bundle of drones there next to one of the Riptides. At the back here we've got the other Riptide, the Hammerhead, and 1 Fire Warrior squad, the Ethereal, the other Fire Warriors, and then up here we have the Sniper drones and the Sniper Marksmen at the very top. They haven't deployed their turrets yet, so that's why they're just tucked away for now. Alright, I think that is everything, so all that remains is whether or not a steal the initiative happens. Oh, it did not. Ultramarines turn 1. So we're trying a different type of format now, and we're going to recap movement and psychic first before moving on to shooting and melee combat if it happens. So the Ultramarines, the Dreadnought has moved off to the side here, hoping to get line of sight on the stealth suits, I think. Guilliman and his assorted bubble moved up ever so slightly. The Hellblasters stayed where they were. They've got the heavy variant, so they've got quite good range. The Intercessors guarding the objective obviously stayed still, as did the Eliminators. The Librarian in Phobos armor moved up. He casts Scryer's Gaze on the Eliminators, so they'll be rerolling missed hits when they take their shots. And the Storm Talon is moved up here, has a pretty good line of sight into the Tau line over yonder. So at the end of Ultramarines turn 1, this is how the shooting went down. The Intercessors shot at the drone squadron and just killed a single gun drone. The Centurion Devastators, they split their shots. The Hurricane Bolters went through the building here, because there's windows down there. Hurricane Bolters went into the Riptide. The Heavy Bolters went into the Pathfinders. They had longer range and they could see them over this little mound here. The Heavy Bolters did exceptionally well. Took out the Pathfinders, giving the Ultramarines first blood, just absolutely annihilated them. The Hurricane Bolters did nothing to the Riptide, and that was a trend that continued. The Eliminators shot at this Riptide, the Storm Talon shot everything it had at the Riptide, didn't even need to sacrifice the drone, it just kept on making its 2+, or where relevant 3+ save. The Eliminators shot Executioner rounds at it as well, and that was with the rerolls to hits. Just could not dent it, very unlucky. Still, did manage to get first blood. Other than that, there wasn't much else to do, they just kind of shuffled forwards. The Tower are going to get a chance to strike back now. Oh, you know what, one more thing. The Redemptor Dreadnought, most of its weaponry was sadly out of range. It overcharged, didn't wound itself, and shot its Plasma Incinerator Cannon at the Cold Star Commander and did 2 wounds to him. He's just there to get sacrificed anyway, and he can just charge in now, knowing the first blood's already been given up. So let's see what he does as we go to Tau turn 1. So this is how it's looking at the end of Tau movement. They didn't move at all, for the most part, as is Tau tradition. Both Firewire squads have set up their support turrets, the smart missile systems. The Hammerhead hopped on over here, so it's going to be -1 ballistic skill this turn. The 2 Riptides kind of making a combined front over here. The drones have followed suit to be their ablative wounds. And let's see what else. The Cell Suits have shuffled up a little bit, following behind the much faster Cold Star Commander. At the end of Tau turn 1 fully, they had a pretty effective turn in the end. 1 smart missile system and everything the Hammerhead had fired into the Intercessors. That resulted in 2 of them dying. Their morale has held. More importantly though, the Cold Star Commander unleashed his fusion blades that fire like 2 fusion blasters and his other 2 fusion blasters into the Redemptor Dreadnought. He was in 9 inches, so he got to roll 2 for each damage roll when 3 wounds out of the 4 got through. There's the wound rolls. Keeping in mind, obviously, 2 rolls rolled for each and you keep the higher result, but still, a 5, a 6, and a 6, that's a lot more wounds than the Redemptor has, so the Redemptor has been destroyed before he really got a chance to do anything. That is pretty brutal. Other than that, both Riptides shot into the Storm Talon. They've got it down to, I can't quite see from here, I think it's 3 wounds. Yeah, 3 wounds remaining on the Storm Talon, so it's very bracketed, but they didn't quite take it out. They weren't getting the -1 to hit because they also have fly. And a few of the drones in the gun drone squadron here that could reach the Centurion Devastators shot through the ruin windows there at this closest Centurion and were not able to damage him. So they gave him as good as they got, if not better. And let's see how the Ultramarines react as we go into their turn 2. At the end of movement and psychic for Ultramarines turn 2, the Intercessors that have taken some casualties have moved round to try and avenge their fallen Redemptor brother. Guilliman and the Centurions continued moving up as slow as the Centurions go. The Phobos Librarian has moved up slightly, and he cast, well, he did Scryer's Gaze on the Eliminators again, but he also did Smite. The Riptide was slightly closer, did 3 wounds, 2 were passed off to drones, which have died. 1 had to be taken on the Riptide, so he's down to 13 wounds remaining. The Storm Talon is kind of charged forwards as a suicide run. He's 1 wound away from his lowest bracket, so he's actually in his middle bracket right now. But that's as things stand, as the shooting phase is about to begin. End of Ultramarines turn 2. It took some, well, more than it should have really, shooting, but the Cold Star Commander has indeed been killed. The 3 Intercessors shot to no effect. 4 out of the 5 Hellblasters up on the building up here shot at him. 1 chose to fire at the Riptide, thinking the 4 would be enough to finish it off, as it went down to 2 wounds after this Intercessor squad shot at it. Sadly, the 4 Hellblasters did not do any damage, and they were overcharging incidentally. So Guilliman had to shoot with the Hand of Dominion through the windows here, and he was the one who did the 2 damage required that was left over after the Intercessors were done with them, to take out the Cold Star Commander. So the Cold Star Commander is dead. Everything that the Centurions had shot into the closest Riptide. The Riptide sacrificed all of the mixture of gun drones and shield drones squad to take ablative wounds for him. He still had to take 1 more wound, I think, so he's down to 11 now, or maybe 2, I can't remember if it was at 13 or not. The Storm Talon shot everything into the Fire Warrior squad here. Only managed to kill 3 of them. They had Sense of Stone, which saved 3 of their lives. That's one of the ethereal buffs, which means they can ignore wounds on a 6. Their morale has held, and probably not long for the world, the poor Storm Talon there. So a little bit of damage. The stealth suits were largely ignored, but things are looking okay for the Ultramarines. Let's move into Tau turn 2 and see what happens. So this is how the Tau movement phase is looking as we get ready to go into the shooting. The 2 Riptides have repositioned here with their shielded missile drones close behind. Looks like they're going to be going after the Phobos Librarian there, or just staying clear of Guilliman, whichever. Other than that, nothing over in this far corner has shuffled at all, and over here the stealth suits have moved up a little bit. A little bright from this side of the table. I forgot to mention at the top, I think, of this one, but thank you to Alana for gifting the funds required to get some better lighting, both for these battle reports and for the Batman ones as well. Still getting used to finding the ideal position to put them, but it makes everything a lot healthier looking. Anyway, to the shooting phase. So at the end of Tau turn 2, the stealth suits fired into Intercessors, killed 1 of them and put another one on a wound. They're close enough to Guilliman that they weren't in any danger of fleeing for morale. The Riptides, this one split its shots, did the fusion blasters into the Librarian and Phobos armor, shot its big gun, not overcharged or anything like that, at the Hellblasters. This one shot its smart missile systems at the Hellblasters and shot its big gun at the Eliminators. The drone here also shot at the little drone there, shot at the Librarian. Librarian is entirely untouched due to some horrific rolling. 1 Hellblaster took 1 wound though, and down here 1 Eliminator took 1 wound. Nothing harassed Guilliman or the Centurions in the middle, just kind of considering that they're slow enough that they're not going to make it to the objective before the end of the game, most likely. Over here, the Hammerhead shot into the Storm Talon. Storm Talon has been removed. It did explode, but there was nothing in the AoE to get damaged by it. So the Hammerhead did its job, took out the Flyer, even with the -1 to hit. It's gone now. So we did a little bit of damage, not a huge amount, but a little bit. So we'll move into turn 3 now. Not much movement to cover for Ultramarines turn 3 really. It was just the Centurions and Guilliman who kind of stomped up over this block here. No one else moved besides Intercessors shuffling towards the stealth suits. Everyone else kind of just hunkered down. The Ultramarines have first blood, so it's not on them to push, essentially. And just to quickly cover the psychic phase, Smite and Mind Raid was used on the closest Riptide. The drone had to take 1 of the wounds inflicted by one of those, and the Riptide itself took 2 wounds. Fairly muted end to Ultramarines turn 3. The 2 Intercessor squads shot into the stealth suits, killed 1 of them, just realised did not do morale for them, so if they end up running, which is not that likely. We'll do a quick addendum. Other than that though, the Hellblasters and the Eliminators shot into the closest Riptide that was wounded. I think the Eliminators whiffed entirely, 2 2s and a 1, which was very disappointing. They didn't have Scryer's Gaze to reroll this time. The Hellblasters did okay. The majority of the damage though came from Guilliman and everything that the Centurion Devastators had. Thanks to the rerolls, honestly. The Daka Centurion build is not that great against the Riptides 2+. Either way though, they did manage to kill the Fusion Blaster Riptide. The other one is still perfectly fine on the far side there. And down here the Tau side has been untouched this turn. So, barring any morale issues, it's over to the Tau turn 3. So not much Tau movement as expected, but this Riptide did kind of go his full movement up this side here. He also used the boost Nova power, so he's taking himself a wound, but that does mean once it rolls around to the charge phase after shooting, he can move 2d6 additionally, other than a charge. So he's trying to clear some room to get away from Guilliman. Over the far end of the table, the Hammerhead has also moved its full movement up there, just kind of shuffling along. The Stealth Suits moved a bit closer to the Intercessors that are close to them, but also around the building to try and block line of sight from this kind of angle here. And that was it. Everything else just hunkered down. Now on to the shooting. As we end turn 3 for the Tau, pretty much everything happened down this end of the table. This is where the Riptide is, after using boost, got 7 additional inches, so it moved closer to the Eliminators. Shot everything at them, only killed one of them, and that's despite the Smart Missiles ignoring the cover bonus that they get. Also, presumably, the Shielded Missile Drone doesn't get the benefit of the boost, so presumably that's just kind of stranded back there. It also shot at Eliminators and did nothing. Around here, the Stealth Suits, with a little bit of help from the -1 to hit, because it moved Hammerhead, took out the Intercessors over here with relative ease. Just remembered, I mean, target lock means it can move and fire heavy weapons at full ballistic, but it had advanced targeting as well, didn't it? So that would have been an additional AP on all of its shots. Too late to do that now, totally forgot. Anyway, that's as things stand. So now we're going to move on to Ultramarines turn 4. At the end of movement for the penultimate turn for the Ultramarines and Psychic phase, the Centurions moved their 4 inches, just kind of shuffled. Guilliman broke off to go after the other Riptide that's trying to get into the backline, as did the Phobos Armor Librarian. He tried to cast Smite, failed. He then did Mind Raid and did an additional wound on the Riptide. Riptide's not a character, so there's no like stealing command points. Oh, forgot to mention at the top of this one actually, but we haven't been using command points just to see how the battle would flow without them. Because command points and stratagems, they give whoever gets the first turn too much power, in my opinion. Anyway, so we're testing something a little different here. It feels very like a 7th edition game. I don't know if that's better or worse, but that's how we've been playing this one. Let us know what you think about command points and stratagem uses and being a bit too powerful in 8th edition. Because honestly, that's the opinion I have. Well, I guess occasional rerolls aren't so bad, but the right combination of stratagems just seems unfair for certain armies. Anyway, besides the point, that's the movement. Now on to the shooting. So at the end of turn 4 for the Ultramarines, Guilliman and the Librarian made it into close combat with the Riptide that was trying to sneak up the side. Riptide was quite good in the shooting phase, didn't take any damage. The Librarian also took 1 wound on the way in because he charged first to take the fire. Guilliman did the work though. He did a staggering 21 wounds, which would have killed the Riptide from full health. So the Riptide is gone. 1 Centurion, just because of lack of anything else to fire at, killed the drone back here. The one that could reach, which was the one at the front there, shot into this Fire Warrior squad, killed 2 more of them thanks to being so close to the Ethereal though and Sense of Stone. 1 survived when it shouldn't have, and their morale held because they get to use his morale of 10. So that was about it. This Intercessor squad had fired to no effect against the Riptide as well. They can't see the Stealth Suits. So that's about it really. Now over to Tau turn 4. So to cap off the Tau movement in their penultimate turn, the only 2 things to move was the Hammerhead, which is moving up and shuffled into this ruin, or this crater rather here, and the 2 surviving Stealth Suits have also shuffled up, aiming towards the Space Marines objective. So at the end of the penultimate turn for the Tau, the Stealth Suits and the Hammerhead shot into the Intercessors, holding the objective, killed one of them, took a wound on another, their morale held. And down here in the middle, the Smart Missile Systems in the fire, with the turrets for the Fire Warriors and the Sniper Drones shot into the Centurions, only managed to do 1 wound to one of them. So not exactly a stellar round, But that's the way it goes. Now it's down to the final turn for the Ultramarines to see what they can do. So besides some shuffling back here from Guilliman and the Librarian, the only thing that really mattered was the Centurions here. They were trying to get Linebreaker, but using this as the middle point, it's got a 9-inch bubble. They ran, because they could only move 4 inches. They did a, well, advance run, whatever. They did that to try and get in. They got 1 on their advance roll, which does not give them Linebreaker. Also means they'll be shooting at reduced ballistic skill. That was the thing that mattered, but let's move on to their shooting now. So at the end of the final turn for the Ultramarines, the Stealth Suits finally got taken down by a combination of the Intercessors and Hellblasters. The Hammerhead is untouched. Over here, the Centurions successfully wiped out this Fire Warrior squad. They couldn't split to then shoot at the Ethereal, sadly, so they're not going to get a chance for Slay the Warlord. This turret gets destroyed because the unit is destroyed. So they did manage to take out another infantry unit. Didn't manage to secure any other points, however, but maybe helped a little bit. Anyway, just the final turn for the Tau to quickly wrap up here, because there's only one thing that matters in it. So at the end of the movement phase for the Tau on their final turn, this is really the only thing that mattered. The Hammerhead advanced, got an additional 4 on top of its 12 movement. It got it to here. Even if it had made it to the objective, it's an infantry unit guarding it, so it wouldn't have been able to overwrite or contest. But the important part is he did get close enough to get Linebreaker. So that brings us to the end of this game. Both sides still hold their objective for 3 victory points each. The Ultramarines got first blood when they wiped out the Pathfinders, and the Tau managed to score Linebreaker right at the end of the match, making it a 4-4 victory point draw. And an interesting match, as I said like halfway through there. Opted not to use command points and stratagems this time, just to see what kind of difference it would make, and as I said, it kind of felt like a 7th edition match. It's a tricky thing, like using command points and stratagems. The command points themselves aren't the problem with 8th edition, it's the overpowered synergistic nature of using stratagems with an alpha strike or first turn advantage. For the most part around here, we just kind of use it for strategic rerolls more so than using stratagems. We're not playing super hyper competitive. But going forward, I feel like we do need to use command points. This was just a little bit of an experiment, and it felt old-fashioned, let's put it that way. But it's a draw between both sides. In terms of things that could have been done different, I'm not really sure. The Tau didn't need to bunker in as much as they did, because there was no deep striking or anything like that from the Ultramarine side, so didn't really need to leave everything back. Could have came forwards if they wanted to. Other than that, the Cold Star could have held back, although the Cold Star did really well destroying the Redemptor in 1 turn. But they needed something to slip behind and do more than just 1 turn's worth of damage. Guilliman was good. I mean, he did 21 wounds in 1 round of combat to a Riptide. That's astonishingly powerful. But obviously very expensive. In a small points game, that does mean there's not many models on the field. As a result, the Ultramarines did deploy somewhat defensively. I feel like if the Hellblasters had the Assault variant or normal variant, they could have moved up with the bubble as well. The Eliminators could have been hiding in that ruin instead, giving them a better field of view. Wanted them to be in cover to take advantage of the +2 to their safes for being covered with Camel Cloaks, so that's why they deployed in the ruin like they did there. Obviously the 1 Intercessor squad had to hang around on the objective, because there's the whole point of season control. It's another interesting thing as well. I think some of the other missions in, was it Chapter Approved? I know about First Strike. First Strike is essentially first blood for both teams on turn 1 only, I think. Maybe we should start incorporating that into our 40k games too. Let me know about that kind of thing in the comments. But thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. There will be more in the future. Might change up the board for next time, might not, we'll see. Hopefully I have some new miniatures, new armies as well, or at least armies that haven't had a good showing yet. Looking forward to getting into contrast paints as well, so I might start seeing miniatures painted by that soon. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed. See you next time. Ta-ta for now.